Hi, I'm Julia from Toddy, and today I'm here with my great friend Tim Stirk, and we're here to talk about cold brew cupping. Tim and I met several months ago in Milan, and I really wanted to pick his brain as a coffee professional about how could we position this new product for the specialty coffee industry.
And I came to Julia with another problem, which was how do we use cold brew in our brewing education? As a content creator for the SCA, we had a gap in our module for intermediate brewing around cold brew. We had no information, we have no tools to basically evaluate cold brew from a sensory perspective. So Julia had told me she had a project coming up that I might be interested in assisting with.
So little did Tim know at the time, we at Toddy were already in the process of developing our cold brew cupping kit, but we needed someone with credibility in the industry to help us launch the concept of cold brew cupping in a way that the specialty coffee industry could take seriously. Cold brew in general has often been considered the weird cousin of specialty coffee, and we were really afraid that the idea of cold brew cupping would be dismissed outright because there's such a long-standing tradition of cupping with hot water extraction. A little bit of background though, on how we got here. So a few years back, I was working in the lab at Toddy, and I had several Costa Rican Cup of Excellence coffees, and my job was to pick one or two to present at this conference. And I had, I think 10 coffees were sent to me a short period of time, and I was trying to determine how do I do a side-by-side evaluation and really do these amazing coffees justice. And so I grabbed some filters, grabbed some pint glasses, brewed them all, and grabbed cupping bowls the next day and evaluated them side by side, and it was a really great process. And we started doing that sort of thing in our lab on a regular basis when we needed to really understand how coffees would compare to each other and how brewing variables would impact the final flavor profile of the cup. When we came to you and said, Tim, help us get to the next step, it was only natural to work together to develop a protocol and the cupping forum.
Yeah, and this tool is something that everybody can use. Obviously, it goes great with the cupping kit, but it stands alone as an industry tool, and that's something that's really exciting for me as a content creator for education, but also as an individual and professional, that we have a tool that we can use to evaluate our cold brew and quantify it.
I think one of the parts that I enjoyed the most about this process of working together on this project was some of those eureka moments.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe any of those that you had where you were pleasantly surprised?
When you look at the attributes on a cupping form, initially I was a little bit scared because I thought, well, it's not hot brew, we're not going to be able to analyze certain things, but the eureka moment for me was that the coffee's already been through a qualitative process in the roastery, and we realized we're not assessing it to understand if it's a specialty coffee because it already is.
Right.
So we could eliminate that part of the cupping protocol from the hot brewed side and just look at what it is we wanted to assess. And very much in the way we assess hot brew, the cold brew attributes are similar, such as fragrance, body, acidity, sweetness, aftertaste, and balance. The things that we want in all coffee. And when we started to analyze them, it was really obvious that all those qualities were there and present. They just appeared differently,
right,
and behaved differently to a hot brewed cupping, but they were there, right down to the fragrance and the aroma. Mm-hmm. So we did assess the fragrance of the dry grounds. We assessed the aroma of the cold brew, and I was really surprised by how potent some of them could be. And it really gave me a sense that, okay, I can use a cupping form, I can quantify intensities, and then I can score it. And I was surprised by the scoring process and how easy it was.
And a couple of the goals we had in mind with this was One, we wanted to make the form and the protocol as similar as possible to what was already standard in the industry. We didn't need to reinvent the wheel. We wanted to adapt to cold brew in meaningful ways. And so the things that we changed were very subtle, but really have a big impact. And the other thing we wanted to do was create a form and a protocol that would be independent from our own product, which, you know, of course, I'm biased to the Toddy's Cold Brew Cupping Kit, but, you know, as you mentioned, cold brew needs to be evaluated for its own merit. And so being able to use the form and the protocol for any cold water extraction method was also a goal. How do you think we achieved that?
Well, I think you have achieved it, and I think for anybody who's a professional in the sensory analysis in coffee, they have been doing a disservice if they haven't been using some kind of objective measurement for cold brew. And this just gives legitimacy to the whole process, so that we can say, okay, I've got a process to analyze cold brew, I've got a tool, the form and the tool to do it. You have to imagine people saying, why didn't I use this before?
Sure. Great. When, you know, just a quick plug, we are offering the protocol and the forms available for free download on our website. It's a project that we did for the industry. And, you know, we're interested in feedback. We're interested in hearing how it's useful for you and your projects. So let us know. And in addition to that, we have the cold brew cupping toolkit that we developed to make cold brew evaluation easier in the preparation side. There's some things we learned along the way. Again, things that we had to change from traditional hot water cupping, you know, changes in chemistry and physics, and as well as, you know, how do you make this practical? And so, you know, some of the things that we changed were, you know, brewing in larger vessels instead of directly in the cupping bowl like you would in traditional cupping. But you know, really, just like any other cupping method, you brew and sample right out of the cupping bowl with a spoon, and use the form just like you would with any other traditional cupping.
I think it's important that people have a professional approach to cold brew cupping as they would for hot brew cupping. And for me, the unique thing about the toolkit is the small batch process of it, that we can analyze. I can have several of these devices to analyze several coffees at the same time. So that, you know, small batch, what are we making? 30 grams of coffee?
Sure.
It gives us a couple of cupping bowls, and I'm not wasting huge batches of coffee to analyze cold brew. And I think that's the fun part. I can analyze different ratios, I can analyze different coffees, and I can do it quickly and efficiently.
Yeah, I think you hit it spot on. So we're very excited to introduce this new product line, as well as the protocol and the form, and continue having these conversations. So, you know, thanks for watching, and we hope to hear from you as well.